Ciao ragazzi. I think we are fully live. Welcome to my first live. Thank you for those of who have joined. Let's put myself on Do Not Disturb. I think you guys can see me okay, but I have another light here. We'll see if it's better. Oh, it's like very bright. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's good. This is all very exciting. Guys, bear with me. This is the first time that I have done a live. I don't know what I'm doing. It was a bit chaotic before opening up this live, so bear with me. But let me just begin by welcome to the first Anise London live. My name is Anise. Hi, greetings from Norway. Hi. Oh my God, someone's actually in the chat. I thought that people wouldn't show up. Anyways, to introduce myself, my name is Anise. My channel is Anise London. Hey, Jody. Ciao, Estuni. I'll try not to get distracted by the chat. My channel is all about my life in Italy, basically. Even though it's called Anise London, I started it because I live both in London and Italy, but the bulk of my channel is all about what my life has been like buying a property in Italy, renovating it, adapting to the lifestyle in Italy. And here I gave tips and pointers to those of you who are also trying to do the same thing. My house is located in the south of Italy, in Puglia, which is the heel of the boot. And so we are a big Puglia Stan account here. All right. In today's live, we have a special guest who I'm going to introduce in just a second. And I'm very excited to have him join us because I feel very nervous, but with him coming, it will make me feel a little bit more chill. And that special guest is none other than Bae.
Hello everyone.
Ciao.
How do you?
Ragazzi.
Ciao ragazzi.
Ciao ragazzi. Oh my God. Okay. Listen, we need to stay on track. I do have a little outline here so that, this doesn't veer off into 2 hours of just raving and ranting about Lord knows what. But I want to tell you first how this live is going to go. So I have broken down this live into 3 sections. The first section, I'm going to answer a few questions I already got from some of you guys on the community post. So some of you have already submitted some questions. We'll address a handful of those first. Then we are going to move into a second section where I speak a little bit more about some of the things I said you could anticipate in this live, which is us discussing buying our property via company and us discussing just, how the company purchase works. We're going to talk a little bit about getting a car in Italy. That has made some waves on the Facebook groups, but it's okay. The first thing and then the last section of this live, we are going to turn to the chat and answer questions that you guys submit in the live chat. Like I said, this is my first live. My eyes are bouncing around everywhere, but bear with me, guys. We will get through this together. Okay, before we dive into section 1, I just also will give a little background on myself. I know that you guys know me from the channel and from the home that we have purchased in Italy, but maybe you don't know that much about me. I'll give a very short background on myself. I'm originally from New York. I used to practice as a corporate attorney in New York. I hold a bachelor's degree from Harvard and a Juris Doctorate from Columbia Law School. And long story short, I did not love being a lawyer. I thought there was more to life. I'm a very creative person. I've been a singer my whole life. Moved from New York to London about 7-8 years ago and began working in the entertainment industry. And I still work in the entertainment industry today. I'm an actress, performer, and actually a big chunk of my life here in London, I was a musician, releasing music and performing at events and venues. And I will allow Bae to introduce himself, give a little background on who he is.
Please,
oh my God,
introduce me
don't
to
even get me
your
started.
Community.
Guys, we kind of did like a run through on this before we joined the live, and we had some bumps in the road, and he thinks that I should introduce him.
Yes. What good you have to say about me?
Okay, this is Bae. This is the love of my life. first and foremost. Bae is a very big part of this channel. Bae is a huge support system and backbone to this channel. He's a big reason why this channel has any structure. So we'll say that. But Bae also has 20 years of experience in tax accounting operations. He runs his own consulting firm. He's managing director of it. You can speak to the specifics of what you do a little bit more.
Well, so I've been a consultant for over 20 years. I've started my business maybe 9 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's been somewhat successful, people would say. I have 3 offices, more than 20 people. And lately I've been very into AI and large language models. I'm trying to do a bit of a startup of my own in that space. So even though I have quite a bit of experience in tax and accounting and international structuring, I don't represent that in this chat. We're just sharing our experiences. My background helped to arrange a lot of the things that we will be discussing. But at the same time, not the tax advice, not the legal advice.
Yes, and I second that. This is a hangout, guys. This is a chill hang. What we're going to be sharing in this live is fully based on just our personal experience on going through this process. Because when we started this process, there was so much about it that we didn't know and a lot that was very confusing. There are a lot of steps in this process that we've done successfully. So we're going to share with you how we did that. But this is not financial advice. This is not tax advice. This is not legal advice. This is not professional advice. We're not offering professional services. Anything that we answer, it's just based from our personal experience. And it's not a recommendation. It's just we're sharing if it's helpful to you.
And we were consulting a lot of local accountants, local tax professionals, a lawyer, a notary, etc.
Yes, we had a lot of those people involved in the process with us as we were doing this. So while I did watch a lot of YouTube before we dove into much of this process, and you can learn a lot from YouTube, we did get everything confirmed, seconded. What's the word I'm trying to say?
Second opinion.
A second opinion, yeah. From professionals, local professionals on the ground in Puglia. A notaio, geometra, there was an attorney I spoke to, everybody. Yeah, cool. Alrighty, so with that intro out the way, and we already running behind schedule on the outline.
Slightly longer than we anticipated.
It's fine. I think the thing that's weird with this too is that it's a live, but it doesn't feel like a live because I'm so used to filming with the camera and then we can chop and edit it. But
I'm just slightly. Can I turn it a bit towards me so I'm a bit more centered?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys will soon find out who likes the attention most in this relationship.
Can we just center me, please?
I'm just saying, just because it's called Anise London and I'm on the channel, don't get it twisted. I'm not the one who actually loves the attention. I'll throw it out there. You guys can decide amongst yourselves who loves the attention most. Okay. All right, let's see. So the first section, I said that we were going to address some of the questions that came up in the community post. So first things first question that came in the community post. Can you give me an update on the state of the Italian economy with particular reference to inflation? Is the government strong enough to be able to control prices? That question came from Mercedes L8718. Thank you so much, Mercedes. I know that you are a subscriber and you watch the channel. I love seeing your comments. Thank you so much for this question. This question made me chuckle because when I said to you guys, please bring questions to this live, I really thought it was going to be like, oh, what's it like, on the weekends in Puglia, near your beach house? And instead, we're getting these beauty pageant questions of can you give us an update on the state of inflation in Italy? But you know what? Touche, fair game. Okay, I'm going to be very honest. Can you guys hear me? Because I think I was supposed to be using this as a microphone. This is actually the microphone.
Please shout if you hear us well.
Yeah, if you hear us okay. Is it? Yeah, this is it's the microphone. And it was on my lap the whole time. You can hear me? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give a little bit of context. Our purchase of our home in Italy was a little bit of a happy accident. Okay. It was not a situation where, for instance, we were Lily wants to go outside. Can you just open the door? Our dog Lily just needs to go outside for a moment. It was not a situation where we knew that we wanted to buy a property abroad, so we'd done a lot of research to figure out, based on economics, politics, which country was going to be the best country for us to purchase in, which circumstances were best. What happened was we went on holiday to Italy. We went to Puglia for the very first time. My very good friend who you've seen on the channel, Giorgio, who also works with us as our translator. He is from Puglia, and Bae and I took a holiday to Puglia for 2 weeks. We spent 1 week at a masseria, having a very lush, wonderful, fabulous holiday experience. This is Lily, the second special guest. And the second week we spent with Giorgio's family. How I remember it is we were driving in the car, I think maybe to Ostuni or to see one of the beautiful towns in Puglia, and Giorgio had mentioned that his nonna was selling her beach house. How I remember it was just out of curiosity, Bae or myself, one of us asked, I think it was Bae, oh, how much is she selling it for? And when he mentioned that she was selling her 2-bedroom, front terrace, back terrace, roof terrace, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, beachfront property for 80,000 euros, we were very intrigued. We're like, whoa. Bae remembers it slightly differently.
Yeah. We remember it the same way, in the sense that Giorgio's grandma was selling the beach house, and Giorgio was the person who noted that every Italian family, or like a lot of Italian families, have the second home on the beach, like a beach house. But where our stories differ is that I remember very, very, very vividly that we were having a breakfast at Giorgio's family's house, and at mom's house, or the parents' house. And then I was reminiscing the first week of our stay, which was the beautiful Masseria Potenti. And I was just so nostalgic, because that feeling of the farmhouse and the airiness and the weather and the people and the food reminded me a lot about my childhood, where at my grandparents' place we spent a lot of summers, and it was just so serene. And I kind of felt the same in Puglia, and I was thinking about how wonderful that would be if we could come there, or to Puglia, more often. And I asked Giorgio, I was like, so like if we would buy in this town, how much would the prices be? And that's what triggered Giorgio to say, like, hey, by the way, like, the prices for flats in this town would be this, but every Italian family has a second home at the beach, and my grandma is selling. And that's how kind of like, then I spoke the same day to Anise and said, like, hey, like, what would you think if we would start looking at properties here? And it was a very fortuitous opportunity, because the inflation was very high those days. And we had some money from the property we've sold recently. So everything kind of aligned, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So that's a big part of the conversation. It's like, it was a lot of serendipitous moments. We had the cash. That was just, we had cash in a company,
because the property we sold was through the company.
This is relevant to the conversation that we're going to have later. Like, we had cash in a company, so it's a big reason why we ended up buying via a company. Oh, no problem. It's a very big reason why we ended up buying via a company. The cash was in a company. We had a recent sale of a property. We hadn't yet made a decision about how we wanted to reinvest it. But to come back to the original question, can you give me an update on the state of the Italian economy with particular reference to inflation? Is the government strong enough to be able to control prices? I'm going to be very honest. Because our stumbling into Italy was a bit of a happy accident, we have not been as attuned to like the current state of things as, one maybe would be, who's like searching for making the best financial decision for a holiday home.
Very aware of the cultural differences. I'm European, so I traveled quite a bit. I like Italian culture, and we compared it to other Mediterranean countries and their cultures, rather than like, is it like the best country economically or administratively to buy into? And we just chose Puglia because we fell in love with it.
Yeah. I had spent time living in France, in Paris, in both the south of France. I knew that in my life, at some point, I wanted to have a home in the Mediterranean. Because my experience had been living abroad in France, I thought it was going to be the south of France, but life unravels in a wonderful way. At the time, I hadn't even met Bae yet. So life happens the way it does. That said, we do try to, most of what I garner about the economic and political state in Italy is from YouTube. And, so I can't answer this question with as much of an educated answer as, one who has done the research. But because we are based in UK, we're based in London, I am attuned to how a lot of the wealth in UK is flooding out. And because of a YouTube video I watched recently, it's in the headlines. Just because of the way that what's her name? Oh, let's not get too political, but the decisions that the ministers are making are pushing a lot of people with money out of the UK. I think UK in the last year lost somewhere about like 16,000 millionaires. And guess where?
We are not millionaires.
We're not millionaires. We're not those people. We're not those people, right? But interestingly enough, where are those people going? What we have found is that in the top 3 places, Italy is there. So you have a lot of millionaires. I think Italy attracted the most millionaires it has ever in last year in 2025.
What that indicates, I think the country is very appealing in this geopolitical climate. And I think once people start coming to a country, it will affect the economy quite positively.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you started initial kind of hints in the Italian economy, in the way tourism is growing and the arrivals to Italy. So a lot of that is driving the Italian economy right now. Inflation, which was the question, wasn't necessarily as much of an issue kind of in the last year. I have an economist background, so like I would say that government can influence the prices only so much, because the question was indicating about government. But I think there are also some correct decisions by the government to attract more people to Italy.
I will say, like, this is not something that I have done research on myself, but we obviously have a lot of friends in Puglia in our neighborhood. And I do remember the conversation that we had with our friends who also have a house on the beach, who used to live in New York. And they were saying that relative to other places, for instance, produce, they find it to be very expensive.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I think, find a place in Europe, which is not.
But that's the thing. So for us, because like we live between London and Puglia, it's like, I think maybe things in London are very expensive. So I think we don't feel it as much.
And there's certain things about the economy that a lot of local people are talking about. Prices is one of them.
Yeah.
But also kind of opportunities, jobs, low salaries.
Yeah.
The things that don't affect us because we are still working and living to a large extent in London.
Yeah. And so, I will say, I also know that a lot of the people who watch my channel are also in the retirement community. Not everybody, but I know that, everyone has their own specific circumstances about why they're going to be in Italy. There was one last thing I was going to say. Oh, I will say, and then we'll move on. I do think it'll be very interesting to see how the climate evolves in Italy over the coming years. On one hand, it can be seen as a plus that like a lot of wealth is coming into Italy. And by the way, the millionaires are not moving to Puglia. The millionaires are moving to Milano, right? But I think that there are pros there. And then I think that there can be some cons. And I think that there will maybe be some like cultural pushback. I don't know if Milan is necessarily ready to have like the kind of wealth that used to flood into London, from Saudi, from, from Eastern Europe, which has had its own kind of impact on London culturally, financially, housing wise. Maybe we might see the same thing in Milan in Italy, and it'll be interesting to see how the Milanese and the Italians respond to that.
Yeah.
There's always a cause and effect, and there's always consequences.
Yes, but that being said, I think as a person who moved to UK in the, let's say, the peak of UK being kind of the country to be in, it's like maybe 10 or more years ago now, it's always nicer to come into a country which attracts people. I think that now UK is not doing as well because of the Brexit, because of the many issues, right? So that indication and Italy is attracting people is a very nice touch,
of course,
and brings new opportunities.
I'm telling you guys, I just did the video of Puglia versus Tuscany. Is Puglia the new Tuscany, right? And just little things that I hear as time goes on that just make me feel so validated in that video. Y'all know John Legend is coming to perform in Puglia. John Legend is going to be in Ostuni. Calabrone Dogs, Restoring Ostuni. Get your tickets. July 24th. You know what I mean? Like, John Legend is not, first off, I think this is his first time performing in Puglia. John Legend, I think, is doing some kind of Italian tour where he's doing maybe 3 or 4 locations. Yes, let's go. 3 or 4 locations in Italy. He's doing like a nice Italian summer tour.
I'm sure it's going to be classic.
He's doing like 3 locations or so, not a lot. I think one is Rome. I think maybe somewhere up in the north. And guess where the other one is? Ostuni, baby. So like when I hear things like that, when I hear about, like, for instance, a world-class A-list celebrity artist who doesn't usually tour in these more rural places abroad, to hear that he's coming to Puglia, I'm like, listen, y'all, I told y'all Puglia about to be the next Tuscany. Watch out, watch out, Tuscany, we're coming. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving. Okay, second question. Any cons for being a walks away from the beach? A lot of late night parties in the summer, noise problems. This question is from ANF Training. Great question. That was something that we thought about when we were buying. So we are still about like a 9-10 minute walk from the beach. I know in my videos I'm just like, it's our backyard, but it feels like our backyard, right? A 9-minute walk is your backyard. But we benefit from that slight difference, like being 9-10 minutes walk away from the beach versus being 30 seconds or 2 minutes. So the people who get the problems with cars parking on the roads are the people who are like a 2-minute walk from the beach, or who are directly beachfront. And we're not. So we don't deal with that at all. We don't really deal with noise problems or like late party problems. No. Yeah. We are close enough to the beach to really enjoy it, but far enough to have our space. Also, you guys have seen my house. You've seen our house. We have a front yard and a backyard. Like, we have space. The houses that are 30 seconds from the beach or a minute from the beach, they tend to be terraced and they tend to be like closer together, So, okay, let me go to the last question from the community post that we're going to answer for now, before we move on to the very sexy topic of buying as a company. Oh, guys, we'll get to it. Don't worry. I see you rearing for it.
Just gotta say, before this live started, Anise said to me, "Don't make your intro too long."
I know. I'm glad. Are you having a good time?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad he's having a good time. We're we tried to prepare for this. We're like, let's be chill. Let's not have it be too scripted and stuff. But we wanted to be organized. But then it was like kind of okay.
Hopefully, you're enjoying this.
Hope you guys are enjoying this. Okay, and we'll answer one more question before we start talking about the buying as a company, so on and so forth. Calabrone Dogs, my girl. I would love to know how you handle your budget. Okay, great question. Great question. So, I would say that
okay.
Oh no, the number that I said earlier, that was accurate. Like, high level, before we got into the weeds of creating a budget.
Can I answer this one?
Okay, he'll answer, and then.
So you can read the comments.
Okay, I'll look at the comments a little bit more.
So the budget, first of all, we bought through a company, which means everything has to be accounted for, right? So that creates a next level of kind of order and administrative burden that we need to have. In terms of the budget we have, you can watch episode 5 of my take on the budget for the house, but in terms of renovation, it's still a moving target. We're not very kind of, we don't have very tight control of the budget. I'm pushing Anise to create one that is kind of capturing everything. We came in with a high level number, which would be comfortable for all the renovations. I know that Anise has a vision for the Puglia house. I know that that vision will be absolutely amazing, and we will most probably try to target the more upmarket segment for the rentals. Because we also want to, if we do end up staying once in a while in the house, we want to be comfortable. We want to be, living in a very nice way. But that being said, it is a constant battle, and I think that we want to spend a bit more time kind of pulling the budget together. I think Anise will do another video for like the totality of it, and we didn't go for like, oh, we'll just try to fit into like whatever 30,000 or 50,000 for the law, because we knew that we're buying an old house.
Let me just give, sorry.
And just to finish the thought, there will be surprises, and that's kind of what big part of it. And as we're looking at things, we're like, oh, maybe the driveway needs driveway needs a bit of like a renovation, and the back fence needs, and so it's kind of like evolving.
First off, this is our first renovation. We have never done a renovation before, and much less we're doing this renovation in a foreign country that we're still learning about. I mean, like the fun number that you threw out before, it's like, oh, we didn't know if we should be like, oh, we're gonna have a budget of 30,000. Let me give you some context, perspective. You guys know we redid our roof. If you have watched Did I Ruin My Roof or whatever I titled these videos, I had 2 episodes on it, a part 1 and a part 2. You saw the work that went into the roof. That roof work cost about 20,000 euros. So like a budget of 30,000 for our house was never going to work because the roof alone cost 20,000. Now the roof was a very big, like we knew that was going to be a high cost. Yeah. The main work, you guys have seen the house, the biggest costs that we're going to have, well, we're redoing all the bathrooms. Okay. So bathrooms are expensive. We are redoing the kitchen, but we're going to have that be the last thing we redo because we know that's going to be expensive because I want the nice bougie Tuscan inspired kitchen, right? But also Bae and I are on the same page that for our home, we're going to rent it out. We do want to be able to rent it out at a kind of high luxury level. Yeah. So for instance, I was on the fence of whether we should have heated floors in the bathroom because I know that that's going to be another strain on the budget. Bae was like, if we are deciding to have it as a more upmarket luxury rental, we need to do the upmarket luxury things. I am in the process. I've just sent out my the measurements and the floor plans of our bathrooms to the floor heating people. So they should be coming back to me this week with numbers. In the future, that's a great question that you asked about the budget. I will make sure to do a video in the future that is quite transparent about our costs and our budget. For those of you who are new to our house journey, I'm just going to give you some numbers now. Our house, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, was listed at 190,000 euros. Our purchase price was 175,000 euros. Now, there's a whole additional number that's added on there that includes the taxes and fees, which I will get to in the next section. But I think, we are in the process of still putting our budget together. But we did not go into this with our eyes closed. We went into it with our eyes open, and we would not be surprised if our budget would be looking like something, like 100,000 is probably about to go into this house.
Well, my very, very rough number, and you can do it definitely at a much lower budget, but because I didn't want to kind of continuously have the strain of like, oh, we need to increase the budget again and again and again. For me, we bought it for 175. I think it's very realistic by the end of it all to have around the same number just for renovations.
Oh Lord.
But
we're going to try
it's,
not to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna not try not to do that. But I think now we're getting a year after year and a bit after, we're getting grips with like everything that we think we need to do, like
Yeah.
as an exhaustive list. Not that there might not be surprise in the future, but at least we know what to do, and now we will get the more realistic number, which hopefully will be around 100,000. But that's kind of where we are right now. It's a very blessed position to be in a place where you can kind of afford it, but it's over the years. It's
Yeah. And
as Italians say, it's piano
piano. Also, excuse me, there are a lot of people, especially, for instance, I know people know Oria, for instance, who are retired or just about to retire, and they've come over and they, hire a company to just do everything, and they're very hands off, and they get it done in like 3 months. I know that costs a lot. We're kind of doing it somewhere in between DIY and that, right? No, we're not even really doing DIY. But basically, for those of you guys who have watched the videos, we're not just going to have this one company go. We're like chilling at home in our San Diego house and they're just taking care of everything. Like that exists. That kind. It's marketed very heavily to foreigners, Americans. We're not in that position. We can't afford that.
No, but I think they would be dealing with a similar.
But I think they do.
Similar budget. I think what the difference is that you have very, very specific wishes for what it will be.
Yeah.
And I think that allows us to kind of have a very, very kind of clear vision and execute it. I think if you want it on a budget, you can look at much lower numbers. That market still exists. You can find kind of people who will build you things for cheaper.
Yes.
It's just that it's going to be more generic, more like how the locals would want to.
Yes.
They maybe would not ask in the middle of the roof renovation to like get the full tiles replaced as we've done.
Yeah.
Things like that. Right?
Yeah. So,
and just I want to say, and I see a comment from a person in Colorado.
Paul Divara.
It's still way cheaper than US. It's
still way cheaper than US. It's still way cheaper than UK.
And you don't have to go for a 4-bedroom,
right? Yes, guys.
bathroom property. That was a business decision.
Giorgio's Nona's house was a 2-bedroom with 2 terraces. Stone's throw from the beach. It was 80,000. Like we ended up buying a 4-bedroom, 3-bath for 175. Like, but my point is that there's a range.
Yeah,
there is a range. Also, there's a certain standard that a lot of beach houses are, if they do get renovated, like the Italian local standard is one style. I have decided to not go that way. My house is still going to be very authentically Italian. Like I'm definitely keeping in the authenticity of what the Italian, using the same materials, so on and so forth. But I want a more luxury experience. Most people on the beach they just need somewhere to sleep, but we got to make it a little bougie. Okay. Now that we are like fully 20 minutes behind the schedule, it's fine though. It's fine. I hope you guys are having fun because I'm having fun. Okay. So cool. Let's move on to the next section. So the next section is we're already kind of in the flow of it, is to speak a little bit more about how and why we bought as a company, right? So I've spoken to this already. Essentially, we had cash in a company. This is just the way that the things rolled. That was the opportunity
sold
for
the
us.
property through a company, and then there was money over there.
There was money in a company. I want to also just say now before I forget, and Bae has already said it, that we do, because we are operating through a company, and also because we're foreigners, and also just because we are people of integrity, and also because we are professionals. I was an attorney in New York. Anise is a tax professional. It's important to us to do things correctly. We have zero interest in doing things in a under the table blah, 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 kind of way. We want to do things correct. We want to do things in line with the regulations and in respect to the culture. And also, we're operating through a company. We're not trying to have any kind of problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest differences, and a very important difference, between buying personally and buying via a company is how you are taxed. Okay. So I have a video on my channel. I think, what's it called now? It's called Thinking About Buying a Property in Italy. Watch this first. It's the 5 steps on how to buy a property in Italy. I've discussed this briefly in that video, but I'll say it again. If you are buying personally, you are going to be taxed on the cadastral value of the home. Okay. The cadastral value of the home is what the home is worth on file at the land registry. So at the land registry, they have a value for that house, especially in places like in the South, like across Italy, across different regions, it can be very different how they assign cadastral value. In the South, a lot of times that cadastral value is going to be like very low.
Yeah.
So for instance, we purchased our house for 175,000. The cadastral value was 900 euros. Okay. So if you are buying personally, and it's your primary residence, you will be taxed. You will pay the purchase tax, 2% of the cadastral value. If it is a secondary residence, you will be paying 9% of the cadastral value if you are purchasing personally.
Which is 100 euros in this case.
Which is 100 euros in this case. Okay. Now, we didn't do that. We bought it through a company. So let's talk about how you get taxed via a company. When you are buying via a company, you get taxed. You pay the purchase tax on the purchase price, not the cadastral value. But in our case, we had to pay 9% of the purchase price.
Which is 15,000 euros.
Yes. It was a little bit closer. 16. It's closer, a little bit closer to 16, I think. But I don't know. I have the numbers here. But Bae is the numbers guy, though. He's on it with the numbers. And then you also have to pay notaio fees, okay? The notary, the person that you need to sign the final deed, all that stuff. And essentially, in total, you also have to pay agency fees. Guys, go watch the other video. I explain all the fees, right? But for us, buying through a company, in the end, including the purchase tax and the fees, we paid close to about 20,000 euros, all right?
Yeah.
What's the difference if we bought the house personally? We would have paid about like closer to 5,000 in fees, right? So we had an additional 20,000 that was added on top of our 175. Ooh, Jesus, loud.
And then there's still agency fees where you would pay.
The 20,000 included the.
No.
Maybe I have the numbers. No, you're right. No, I think. Okay. Anyways, y'all get the vibe. Y'all get the point. It's a lot more expensive.
There's another 3-4% of agency fees whether you're buying. As a
the agency fees are also annoying too because the thing is, don't even get me started. Go watch the other video. Yeah. Where I give my opinions on the agency fees. But with all that said, why still buy as a company, guys? That was our situation. That was where we were in. Wait, can I say one other thing? And then I'm just let you take the floor because he can talk about the rest of the boring stuff. But why might one be incentivized to purchase through a company? One, when you operate through a company, you have a protection of personal assets, right? So there's like a shield, you know what I mean? I don't know. This is stupid lawyer stuff that I don't really need to get into. But one of the main other incentive was for properties that are then going to be generating rental income, you can recover VAT and get tax deductions from doing renovations on that property, right? And you guys know we're doing a big renovation project on our house, okay? So we are positioned in a way that we might be able to recover some VAT or get some tax deductions because we are doing the renovations through our company-owned house. Also, rental income is taxed differently whether the property is owned via a company or via a person. And there's like a flat tax kind of thing that you might be dealing with when you are getting rental income as a person, but there's also you have choices on how you can be taxed on your rental income via company. Why are you looking at me like that? So I'm saying it right,
but, saying it right.
And there are incentivized ways to, get taxed on rental income. So you see how draining this is for me, guys? It's so draining.
It didn't let me speak.
Gosh.
So
No, but you can take you can take it on it. Okay.
I'll try to
Can I
explain.
segue up?
Sure.
I'm just gonna say I'm also gonna let you guys know
Who wants attention more? Me or Anise? Let's vote.
Hey, Chicago. It's not about attention. These are my friends. These are my friends. First off, no, it's our friends too. But they're my friends. Our company is a European company. Okay, an EU-based company. Take the floor, please.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it short. So we had this money in a European company. You can buy a property in Italy with a European company. It might be a bit different with US company if somebody would have a US company established, but you could just buy it outright. What made, and all these fees are applicable, and yes, they do make you gasp when you learn about them, for sure. Um, but once we have bought through a company, we needed a registration locally, and that's where maybe a bit of a kind of explanation is needed. When you have that local registration, you can choose various options, but we went with a branch, which also creates something called permanent establishment, which is effectively just a tax registration for like income taxes, for the corporate income taxes. And that's exactly what Anise is talking about, is that if you have a property in Italy, you can get that taxed at a flat tax on income. So whether, and I think it applies both as a person and as a company, right? You just get that flat tax is fairly high, it's 27 or something percent. If you register for taxes in Italy, then you are able to get taxation as a business, which means that you can all of a sudden deduct some expenses from that income. And that's where renovation cost comes in. That's where the car cost comes in. And all these elements can be deducted from the income, and only then you're taxed, because we knew that the investments on the renovation will be so high, and the income maybe in the first year and the second year might not be as high. We thought that, well, why would we just pay taxes on the income which is not actual profit, it's just the kind of the top line revenue. That's why we went through the renovation, the registration of the company. That is, and I'll try to again keep it brief.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's worth like going through.
Well, I'll say it in a few sentences, because I spent like hours and hours looking through the old emails and understanding how long it took us to register. Italy is a bureaucratic country, right? That's just life, right? That's what it is.
But Italy's bureaucracy is next level.
Yes. Yeah. And as a person who spent 20 years dealing with like international tax structures, like Italy is one of the kind of worst offenders. That being said, rules still exist, and if you go kind of step by step, if you involve local accountants, local tax people, you kind of need to find the right one for yourself. Notary is as a big assistant to figure out the bureaucracy in Italy. You can go through it, and then I won't go into details, but the VAT registration, the bank, the registration of the company, a lot of online registrations, which I don't even remember all the names. If anybody is interested, we can do a separate kind of YouTube about exactly that.
Look at him just offering up additional work to do on my YouTube channel. If you have questions, drop it in the comments, and I can email it to Bae to answer it for you later on.
But once you do it, and once you set it up, our hope is that it's just going to be kind of the administrative thing that accountants can handle.
Yeah.
And in the fact that we did buy a fairly sizable property, the income will be enough to kind of justify that initial not only investment into renovation, but also into administration.
So there's a lot of time and effort and work that's going into what we're doing now, but guys, the idea is obviously we're trying to set ourselves up for long term, and we are confident that it's going to be worth it and pay us back. We did end up using the same notary that we used to sign our final deed. We did also use that notary to set up the branch, to set up the permanent establishment. But these things take time. Your resilience needs to be high to deal with Italian bureaucracy. And I say that as two people who are not even fully resident. So I know all of y'all that are dealing with the soggiorno di permesso and all that. God bless, Godspeed, because I know that is a whole thing with the bureaucracy. But
maybe you can mention how to find the notary.
Oh, I will use this as a moment. This was not a question that anybody sent me, but I think it's useful. So our notary, as the buyer, you have, it leans in your favor to choose the notary. You have the right to choose the notary. I'm not going to say who our notary was or make recommendations on notaries, but I will tell you how I found our notary. And if I could find it in my notes, that would be great. Basically, there is a website. Hold on 1 second. I went online. I found a website. Oh, I found it. Sorry. Okay, so I basically went online. I went to a website that had all the registered notaries in Italy. A notary is called Notaio in Italy. And that website was notaioa.it. I'll say it again. notaioa.it. It listed all of the registered notaries in Italy. There are 2 websites that I think is the official registry of them. That's one of them. I filtered it down to my region, Puglia, and then I looked or filtered it down to the ones that were near our house, right? Because even in Puglia, there's lots of notaries. You want to try and find one that's relatively close to your house. And that website listed all of their email addresses. So I essentially just I made a short list, I think maybe of 30. And I sent a mass email. I BCC'd everyone. Okay. I didn't have be a whole big group chat. I BCC'd about those 30 notaries. And I said, hello, I'm of this foreign buyer. We're purchasing in this area of Puglia. We're looking for a notary to assist us through the process of creating the agreement and doing the final deed. We don't speak Italian. Do you speak English? Because you can get a purely speaking Italian notary and then also have to get a translator, and they can provide a translator. But I just wanted a notary that spoke English already, and we found one. So that's how we found one. Maybe 6 or 7 people emailed me back. Some of them to say we don't speak English, but maybe 4 of them were we speak English, and then we chose one of those 4. So if you were trying to figure out how to get a notary, that's how I did it.
And I think it was very, very useful to have a notary who speaks English.
Yeah, especially in our case, because our case is a little bit more complex since we were buying through a company that was EU based and blah, 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 blah. And it was great to be able to communicate directly with the notary. And yeah. Anything else that you want to say? Oh, let's segue to the hot topic. And I say that this is a hot topic because I don't know how many of you guys in the chat right now are also part of the Facebook groups. I will not name specific names of the Facebook groups, but anybody watching this, on Facebook, you have a lot of groups for people who are foreigners who are moving to Italy and specific regions. Anyways, I try to post in those groups just to share the knowledge and information that I want to share. And I know that one hot topic in a lot of these groups is the purchasing of a car. People on this channel have asked me before about, are you going to purchase a car and how are you going to do it? So I want to address that in this chat. I love Restoring Astuni's comments. By the way, Restoring Astuni said, ooh, I'm bougie. My cadastral value was 20,000 euros. That is quite expensive, but that's because you are in Astuni. Oh, that's Astuni where John Legend is about to go perform. You know what I'm saying? See, we live in the boondocks. Our house is in the rural area. Our cadastral value was 900 euros. Hers was 20,000. So you have to keep those kind of things in mind too. Anyways, back to buying the car. I'm going to keep this short, but basically in Italy, if you are not a full resident, it is not viable for you to purchase a car, right? Maybe if you want to do things a little shitty under the table, you could find a secondhand and buy directly from a private person and buy a used car from a private person. But when it comes time to have to register that car, or when it comes time to get insurance for that car, you were going to face problems because you're not a resident. You got to be a resident, right? We are not full residents in Italy, but our business is, and we run a business in Italy, right? And as part of the work that we do through the company in Italy, we're traveling here, traveling there, traveling there. It's necessary for us to get around. We bought a car through the company and it was totally fine. We didn't have any problems. The car is registered in the company's name and we were able to get insurance for the car.
They did some checks, but it was quite a smooth process.
I think also you have to keep in mind that, like, okay, I'm just going to say this about us. Bae and I are very determined. So I think also if you're going to go through Italian bureaucracy, you have to be a determined person because there's going to be like problems and roadblocks like through everything that you do, right? Not in the same way where in France they're kind of like, it is not possible. But in Italy, people will ask questions. It'll just take a long time, but you get it done. Was purchasing the car the easiest thing in the world? No, it was not. Like, it was still a bit of a process.
In comparison to registering a branch in Italy, it was the easiest.
It was easy, yeah, compared to that. But and then you will also have people who, like, you know, might be confused about you doing it through the company. But like, we knew it was legal, we knew it was lawful, we knew it was not a problem, and we were able to do it. And
can I just say, like, I think that there were some valid points raised in those Facebook groups.
I don't know. Do you want to give more attention to the Facebook groups?
No. I just wanted to say that you wouldn't necessarily get a company registered just for a car. That's for sure. Not that.
Yes, and that was never an implication that anyone on the channel was making.
No, it wasn't.
No. Don't get me started because I will get sassy about it. And I'm trying to keep it professional and sweet.
So, but if you do have a company, that's a possibility. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And you know, back to the point, I don't know how many of your community in the future will actually want to buy a property through a company. Maybe somebody has cash in a US company. Maybe somebody cash in a EU company. These things are possible. They kind of allow you to not take the money outside of the company and be taxed as a person. And, you know, taxes as a person are very high everywhere, including US. So if you do end up buying through a company, it's a little bit of an extra perk because that part wasn't as complex as, let's say, you know, setting that up in the first place. It does have to make sense for you personally and like how you're trying to, you know, maybe move across, you know, and where your money is, etc.
Like, us buying our home through a company is not a novel thing, right? It's just, I think on these Facebook groups, it's not discussed as much. And I think for those of you
through a company, like I had to explain to local accountants how to set up the local branch. So people just don't know. It was so sweet. Like when we were opening a bank account in the local bank, the bank teller was just like, yeah, it's the first time I'm opening a bank account for a local branch of a foreign company. That never happened in this bank branch.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the level of sophistication.
And we're in a small town in Puglia, you know.
But it's possible.
If you're buying up in the north, like, it'll maybe be a different story. But
I think we are a bit of pioneering here as well.
But I think, you know, I was just saying with greetings from New York. Hey, New York. I was born in Brooklyn. Okay, so what I was just saying, that I think even on the Facebook groups, a lot of people are buying personally. But if you are someone who's buying a house through your person, it doesn't mean that you might never set up a company or have business in Italy. You know what I mean? Like, you've just moved your whole life over there. Maybe you will start operating something as a business. So I think it's nice to know both sides, right? What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, I also just wanted to clarify as well, owning our home as a company. This is slightly some boring stuff.
Yeah, we have like maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, wait. Well, we're almost done. Done. I kept it high level before about how much purchase tax you pay and stuff, but there are also different rules for, like, if you're buying from a developer or if you're buying a luxury property, blah, blah, blah. You know, you guys can look it up online. But I also just want to say we own our house through a company. we're renovating it now. The renovations have started, guys. I can't wait to show you more of what we're doing. I'm in London now, but I'll be in Puglia next week because gotta crack some whips at the house, get the renovation going. Anyways, no, everybody's doing a great job. I don't have to crack any whips, but we need to talk with the people. I digress. But we are running it. We own it as a company, and we are gonna have rental income. We are not running a bread and breakfast. We are not running a hotel. And there are different rules based on that too. We are simply going to be generating rental income. We are not operating it as like a hospitality, experience where we are serving breakfast and all that kind of stuff, because that is going to have different implications on what you're permitted to do, taxes, so on and so forth. But also because we are planning to do rental income, I'm also making sure that everything is in line the way it needs to be, renovation-wise, because when we're doing the renovations and when we're done with it, we're going to have inspections to make sure to get the CIN number, the CIS number. I'll make that a whole nother video. We will go through the process together, guys. I'm doing it all for the first time. But you have to meet certain requirements to legally rent your property. And guess what? We're going to legally rent our property because we're not trying to do anything shady or under the table. Okay. That was most of what we wanted to talk about in a nutshell. We spoke about the car. We gave more light on buying as a company.
Well, there's a few questions which we.
There were a few more questions that we were going to answer.
I don't know if we have.
Yeah, we do. Thank you for giving
maybe
me
speed round.
So this is the third section. 56 minutes we've been going, Lord. But this is the third section. We're going to be wrapping up. If you have any other questions that you guys are curious to know, feel free to drop it in the chat. I don't think
if you actually want the nitty-gritty of the registration of the company, please do let Anise know, and then she'll have to invite me again on this channel.
Oh my God. I don't think I've seen. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's read it out loud together for the first time. Regarding the company-owned car, will you still need to get an Italian driver's license when you become a resident? I understand American and Brits can't transfer their license to Italy. I kind of understand that too. I haven't done the research yet myself. Still a question for us, like becoming a full-time resident in Italy.
We don't know.
We don't know. I know that like when it's doom and gloom here in London, like it's been almost every single day since the beginning of the year. I'm like, why don't we live full-time in Italy? But I still
love London.
I like London as well too. But we're still working people. Like our base of the work that we do is here in London. I'm diverging from the question, but I think that is a valid question. I know that there are rules. I heard that the American license doesn't really transfer, so probably.
Yeah, well, I've done that as a European and UK, but effectively the transfer of the license usually is not that much of a hassle, but you do have to do it. Usually the rules are if you live in a country for longer than 6 months, you have to change.
Yeah, but we're not in that situation just yet, but very good question. Thank you for asking. I've seen that Italy, like several countries in Europe, are tightening residency requirement. I won't let that stop my interest in buying property there, but it's something in the back of mind. Yes, absolutely. And in my video, 5 steps on how to buy in Italy, I talked about that. They are starting to tighten. But you know what? I think I imagine if you haven't started your research yet, start the research, see where it's at, because I know some people are going to get grandfathered in. I think that there was some kind of deadline about March. That's not saying rush to do it now, but just look at the timelines, because all change takes time, right? For instance, even in UK, they're starting to tighten some of the residency requirements to then eventually become citizen. I'm grandfathered in, but look into those things. I'm going to address a few more questions that we had in the community post, and I'll try and just do it quickly. But if you have any questions, please do still put it in the chat. Someone asked about safety. So Mercedes, I hope you're still in the chat. Mercedes asked, are the crime levels low enough for locals to not have to lock their possessions, or is it on par with some French regions like Lyon or Marseille? Okay, so I will say, coming from New York, there's not a lot that makes me feel very nervous or unsafe. Coming from a big city, I feel very comfortable. Wait, let me just name it. I feel very comfortable in a lot of other places. We live on the beach. It's a little bit more of a remote area. It's busy during the summer, but outside of those 3 months of the high season, it's very quiet. Friends in that region have advised us to like, for instance, sometimes I need to go to Puglia without Bae, and they have advised for me to not stay in my house by myself. Listen, even though I don't feel scared, I know. I don't feel scared, but I'm going to give deference to the people who live there. Basically, what happens, I don't think anyone's going around trying to stab you and kill you or anything like that. But in the beach, wait, let me just say, baby, whose channel is this?
You're presenting Puglia like
no Puglia. Okay, Puglia is very safe.
Okay, I've been
Puglia's
in Lyon. I've been in Marseille.
I've been to those places
it's
too.
Nothing close
Okay,
to
let me
that.
ask. Okay,
Let's start with that.
Let's start with that. It's nothing like that.
It's very safe.
It's very safe.
But
our house is in a remote area, and what happens? I'll keep it in a nutshell. What happens? Or I'll try to. What happens is people will prey on the remote beach houses where there's not a lot of people in the off season. But they're not trying to come and like stab you up. They're trying to come and like take your water tank, you know?
Or rubbish bins.
Or your rubbish bins, you know? So it's like very petty theft, petty crime.
Yeah.
It's safe. I don't feel any worry. And the only reason I'm going to give deference to the people, my neighbors and friends and people who love me there, who say, don't stay in the house by yourself without Bae. We don't yet have our security system all put together. Okay, listen, for all of those y'all watching, we don't have anything of value in the house right now, so don't think you can do it. But when our security system is together, when our security system is unlocked, I think I will stay in the house there on my own. Yeah, it's my house, you know. So,
and that's and during the warm season, there's a lot of people. It feels a lot more kind of safer because you're not just alone in the field.
So Mercedes, nothing like Lyon or Marseille.
Yeah.
And then especially like in other places where like restoring Ostuni is like Ostuni is popping, John Legend's about to be there, so like you're safe. Okay. ANF training asked if we have any future landscaping renovation plans, update or plant new trees, create a garden experience since this was the garden house. Yes, piano, slowly. In the future, it'll probably be one of the things that we do like last as part of the renovation. We do get a lot of advice from Roberto. So, Roberto is basically like our eyes and like ears on the ground. He's kind of overseeing our whole renovation. There's a tree in our yard that every time we're there, Roberto's like, you need to cut it down because it's not good for the house.
It's a gorgeous tree.
It's a gorgeous tree. He has a point. You can see where the roots are kind of like picking up certain areas of the back terrace and stuff. But we're gonna keep it for now because we like it. All the trees that were actually endangering our house have already been cut down. So there's no tree there that really is deeply threatening the foundation of the house. He just thinks that like that one is not a great idea and we should get rid of it. We're gonna keep it for now. And then the last question from the community posts, and I will come back to you guys on the live chat if any more. ANF training also, he said that at one point, Anise, you mentioned how garbage disposal was a full-time job in Italy. Elaborate. If you're in the chat, ANF training, let me know what I said because I don't really remember saying that or what video I said.
I think it's just that you have to like sort out a lot of recycling.
You just have to there's in Puglia they recycle everything. You got to separate the plastic from the metal, from the compost, from the there's a bin for everything. And in London, there's garbage and recycling. So we're not used to doing that. But
I just love the comments there. Like first, yes, like if you're comparing to US or
Italy's super safe.
Italy's super safe. Yeah. And then the funny thing is they like in Italy you can especially if it's a remote area you can kind of lose weird possessions like gates or I think there was a story about somebody got their security system stolen. I don't know. There's some random things like that.
On the Facebook groups?
No, it was one of the expat people talking about it.
On the Facebook group?
No.
Where?
Just
in
real life.
Okay. People. Yeah, I think the same. Trust me, guys, I get stares in Italy, for sure. I see Free BD said I was walking around Otranto. A lot of people were looking at me trust me as well. But I find that like with the Italian stare, they're looking at you because you're clearly not from the area. In my case, I clearly look incredibly different. So all you gotta do is I just do a buongiorno, and they're like, oh, buongiorno. They're very responsive. Whereas I feel like in some other countries, for instance, you walk around, people stare at you, you say hi, and they just like divert their eyes and keep walking, or they keep staring at you and keep walking.
Sometimes
I've had a very positive experience.
You see the nonnas sitting and looking at you sternly, and then you say buongiorno, and then they're just sweethearts. Yeah.
You know, and I think also in the South, a lot of people don't speak English, so like they'll just stare because they're like, what are they going to say? Hello? They don't know, and they assume you don't speak Italian. But
now they're in for a surprise.
And then I'm learning
with her, not me.
Yeah,
I'm still
he's getting there too, slowly, piano. Anyways, I have kept you guys for a full hour and 4 minutes and 58 seconds.
Exactly as we planned.
25-minute live that we planned. But this was super fun. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you so much for staying throughout.
Thank you for staying throughout and thank you for coming. You know, I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to come, but it's fine. You know, we were ready. But this was just really.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, of course.
With all the admin, all the taxes, and all the fees, what I want to say, for us, it's a passion project. For us, it's something that we kind of went on the kind of decades length adventure with this purchase, and we see and you, with the right mindset, it's not as tedious. You can kind of. I saw somebody was talking about the residency journey with like $10,000 in 3 years. Like that can happen for sure.
Wow.
And you need the patience, and I think patience is very, very important. The pace of life is slower, but that's kind of why we're chose south of Italy.
Yeah.
And we love it.
Yes. And I think, everywhere has its trade-offs, right? Like I kind of love how in some of the Facebook groups, people will kind of give their complaints about Italy or whatever. And then someone else will come in and be like, all you do is slander Italy. If you don't like it so much, then why do you live here, And like,
we love it.
There's drama on the Facebook group. But, and I'm not choosing sides here, but like, I don't know, the person who says that like has a point, right? Nowhere is perfect. I left US for UK. There are things that are like way better that I appreciate here in UK, but UK is not perfect. Italy offers a lot, and there's also a lot that's not perfect. But I think
there's so much Italy offers that it's so unique to Italy.
Yeah.
There's so much Puglia offers that it's so unique to it.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you're literally creating a YouTube channel just for kind of people who want to learn more about Puglia, more about owning in Puglia, more about traveling in Puglia.
Yeah.
I think you're inviting a lot of people here because we feel that it's a region and a place worth inviting to and sharing because it's wonderful.
It's wonderful. And the last thing that I will say is one thing that Bae and I talk about a lot is Italy is one of those countries where you can have any kind of holiday that you want. And it's, you can go to the north and go skiing, or you could go to the south, or not even all the way in the south, but be on the beach. You can have the cultural experience, the city holiday. You can be in Florence, you can be in Rome, or you can be in the countryside. And, some of you guys watched, I did a video on our Amalfi Coast stay. I had never been to the Amalfi Coast before we bought in Italy. We bought in Italy. We drove, can you open the door real quick? Well, I need to wrap this up, sorry. Okay, sorry, Lily needs to go for a walk. We drove 4 hours just to go to Amalfi Coast, and it was amazing. So, okay, I'm just rambling now. Because I'm having a good time. So I want to keep talking to you guys and see what's going on in the chat.
Anybody said a very nice thing.
Oh, thank you, Restoring Ostuni. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support, and thank you for all of you guys who watched the video and comment and subscribe. And, there was a time where I would make videos and like there were 3 views. And look at us now, y'all. We're YouTube partners, So I'm really glad that you're enjoying the content. There's a lot of good content coming. Guys, the renderings for the renovation are looking amazing. I can't wait to share it with you. And thanks so much for taking the time out of your afternoon or evening today to join the live.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, can't wait to continue this journey with all of you. Okay, we're going to go now. Lily needs to go for a walk. Bye. Bye, guys. Where's the button to end it?
It's here.
Oh, there we go. Bye.